Sometimes the deadliest poison comes wrapped in the sweetest smile. Let's begin with the story, and you will understand. Once upon a time in western Nigeria, a beautiful friendship blossomed between two young girls named Ofer and Oi. Their story began in primary school, where they first met as bright-eyed 7-year-olds, sharing lunch breaks under the shade of a mango tree in their school compound. From that moment, an unbreakable bond seemed to form between them. Throughout their primary school years, Ofer and Oi became inseparable. They sat together in class, played together during breaks, and walked home together after school. Their teachers often commented on their unique friendship, noting how they brought out the best in each other. When one struggled with a subject, the other was always there to help, creating a support system that would carry them through their educational journey. As they transitioned to secondary school, their friendship only grew stronger. They faced the challenges of adolescence together, supporting each other through the ups and downs of teenage life. They joined the same clubs, participated in school activities side by side, and spent countless hours studying together for their final exams. Their families became close too, with each girl becoming a familiar presence in the other's home. The true test of their friendship came when it was time to choose their paths for tertiary education. Despite their close bond, they had different academic interests and strengths. Ofer had always been drawn to communication and media, her natural charisma and creativity leading her toward mass communication. Oi, on the other hand, showed a remarkable aptitude for sciences, particularly in laboratory work, which led her to choose biochemistry. Many thought their different academic paths might create distance between them, but Ofer and Oi proved everyone wrong. They made sure to attend the same university, and though their departments were on opposite sides of the campus, they maintained their close friendship. Between lectures, they would meet at their favorite spot in the university cafeteria, sharing stories about their different experiences and supporting each other through the challenges of their respective courses. During their university years, they created a routine that worked for both of them. Early mornings might find Ofer in the media lab working on a broadcasting assignment, while Oi conducted experiments in the biochemistry laboratory. But come lunchtime, they would always find their way back to each other, sharing their achievements and frustrations, dreams and fears. Their friendship seemed to transcend the usual boundaries of student relationships. They weren't just study partners or casual friends, they were more like sisters. They shared not only their academic journey, but also their personal growth, family events, and future aspirations. They made promises to always be there for each other, to be part of each other's major life events, from graduations to weddings and beyond. Little did they know that their seemingly unbreakable bond would be tested in ways they could never have imagined, as life had different plans for their friendship. But in these early days, their relationship was pure, supportive, and filled with genuine care for each other's well-being. During their youth service year in Nigeria, destiny took an unexpected turn for Ofer and Oi. The two friends found themselves posted to the same state, a blessing they celebrated with joy and gratitude. However, neither could have predicted how a chance meeting would forever alter their lives. It happened one sunny afternoon at the NYSC orientation camp. Adamu, the son of a northern billionaire, was volunteering at the camp as part of his family's community engagement initiatives. Though born into wealth, Adamu carried himself with humility and grace. When he first spotted Ofer helping organize a community outreach program, something about her genuine smile and natural leadership caught his attention. "Your coordination skills are impressive," Adamu said to Ofer after the program. His simple compliment sparked a conversation that flowed effortlessly. Oi stood nearby, watching the interaction with growing unease, though she masked it with a friendly smile. As days turned into weeks, Adamu's interest in Ofer became increasingly apparent. He would bring her lunch during community development service days, offer her rides home, and always seemed to find reasons to be wherever she was. Their connection was genuine and deep, built on shared values and dreams despite their different backgrounds. Oi observed this blossoming romance with conflicting emotions. On the surface, she played the role of the supportive best friend perfectly, listening to Ofer's excited recounts of her dates with Adamu and offering advice when asked. But in private moments, a darkness grew in her heart. She had noticed Adamu first, had secretly hoped he might notice her. But he only had eyes for Ofer. "He's different from any man I've ever met," Ofer confided in Oi one evening. "He sees me for who I am, not what I have or don't have." Oi forced a smile, swallowing the bitterness rising in her throat. "You deserve happiness, dear friend," she replied, the words tasting like ash in her mouth. 6 months into their relationship, Adamu planned an elaborate proposal. He transformed a local garden into a fairy tale setting with twinkling lights and scattered rose petals. Oi helped with the arrangements, each decoration she hung feeling like a dagger to her heart. When Adamu dropped to one knee and presented a stunning diamond ring, Ofer's joyful tears reflected the fairy lights surrounding them. "Will you marry me?" he asked, his voice filled with love and hope. "Yes," Ofer exclaimed, pulling him up into an embrace. Oi captured the moment on her phone, her hands trembling slightly. As she watched her best friend's dreams come true, her own dreams crumbled silently. The engagement celebration that followed was a masterpiece of mixed emotions, genuine happiness for her friend, warring with deep-seated jealousy and resentment. That night, as Oi lay alone in her room, she stared at her reflection in the mirror. "It should have been me," she whispered to herself, unaware that this moment marked the beginning of a dark obsession that would eventually lead to tragedy. What no one realized was that beneath Oi's perfectly crafted mask of friendship, a plan was slowly taking shape. A plan that would have devastating consequences for everyone involved. In a stunning turn of events that surprised many, the wealthy northern family of Adamu welcomed Ofer with open arms, transcending the usual cultural barriers that often complicated such unions. Mrs. Anami, Adamu's mother, took an instant liking to Ofer's gentle nature and respectful demeanor. Despite the vast differences in their backgrounds, the family saw in Ofer a genuine love for their son that outweighed any cultural considerations. The wedding was nothing short of magnificent, befitting the son of a billionaire. The most prestigious event center in the city was transformed into a fairy tale venue, with crystal chandeliers casting a warm glow over the elegantly decorated space. Oi, standing beside Ofer as her maid of honor, wore a carefully crafted smile that masked her inner turmoil. She had helped plan every detail of the wedding, from the elaborate decorations to the multiple-tiered cake that stood as tall as a small tree. "You look absolutely beautiful," Oi said to Ofer, adjusting her friend's veil one last time before the ceremony. Her words were sincere, despite the pain that clutched at her heart. The bride was indeed radiant, her happiness illuminating her face as she prepared to walk down the aisle to meet Adamu. The ceremony united not just two people, but two cultures, with traditional elements from both families' backgrounds woven seamlessly together. Dignitaries from across the country attended, turning the wedding into one of the most talked-about social events of the year. Through it all, Oi maintained her role as the perfect best friend, even as she watched her own dreams slip away. Life after the wedding seemed to flow like honey, sweet and smooth. Adamu proved to be an attentive and loving husband, showering Ofer with both emotional and material comfort. Their happiness reached new heights when, a few months into their marriage, Ofer discovered she was pregnant. The news was celebrated with the same grandeur that had marked their wedding. The birth of their son, Prince, brought even more joy to the household. He was a beautiful child who inherited his mother's warm smile and his father's strong features. Ofer took to motherhood naturally, creating a warm and loving environment for her son. Adamu's devotion to his family only grew stronger, and he ensured they wanted for nothing. Those first few years were filled with picture-perfect moments. Prince's first steps, his first words, family vacations, and countless celebrations. Oi remained a constant presence in their lives, playing the role of the doting aunt to Prince and supportive friend to both Ofer and Adamu. To all outward appearances, their life was a testament to the possibility of fairy tale endings. But beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect life, something darker was brewing. Like a poison slowly seeping into pure water, Oi's hidden feelings began to ferment into something more sinister. The happiness she witnessed daily served only to deepen her resolve that she deserved to be in Ophir's place. Yet for now, she waited and watched, playing her part in their happiness, while secretly harboring plans that would eventually shatter their perfect world. The call came on an otherwise ordinary afternoon. Ofer was in the kitchen preparing Prince's favorite soup when her phone buzzed with urgent news that shattered her peaceful day. Oi had attempted suicide and was in the hospital. Without a second thought, Ofer dropped everything and raced to the hospital, her heart pounding with fear and guilt. She found Oi lying in the sterile hospital room, looking pale and fragile against the white sheets. The sight of her once vibrant best friend connected to monitoring devices sent chills down Ofer's spine. "Oi, why?" she asked, tears streaming down her face as she grabbed her friend's hand. "What could be so terrible that you would try to leave this world?" For a long moment Oi just stared at the ceiling, tears silently rolling down her cheeks. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "Look at my life, Ofer. I'm stuck. Nothing moves forward, nothing changes. I wake up alone, go to sleep alone, while you," she paused, her voice breaking, "you have everything. A loving husband, a beautiful son, a perfect life." The words hit Ofer like physical blows. How had she not seen her best friend's pain? Memories flooded back to Christmases, the waits of her meals allowing her to send Prince's angry emails, canceled lunch dates because of Prince's activities, social events she'd forgotten to invite Oi to. The weight of her negligence crushed her. "I've been battling depression for months," Oi continued, her voice hollow. "But you've been so busy with your perfect family that you didn't notice. How could you? I'm not part of your world anymore." Guilt consumed Ofer. She spent the night at the hospital, holding Oi's hand, promising to do better. When she finally returned home, she found Adamu waiting up for her. As she recounted the situation, tears flowed freely down her face. "My love, why aren't you asleep?" Adamu asked, noticing her restlessness in bed that night. Afur shared her fears about Oi's mental health, her terror at almost losing her best friend, and her overwhelming guilt. Then came the request that would change everything. "Adamu, please, can I bring Oi to live with us? Just for a while. I need to know she's safe. I need to be able to see her, to make sure she's okay." Adamu's immediate refusal was firm. "It's not possible," he said. "Living with friends, it never ends well." But Ofer persisted, giving him the cold shoulder, spending days in silence, until finally Adamu relented. "Okay, she can stay with us, but only for a short while," he conceded, wanting to see his wife happy again. "Just until she gets better." Little did they know that this decision, born from love and concern, would set in motion a chain of events that would destroy their perfect world. As Oi moved into their guest room, she brought with her not just her belongings, but also a darkness that would soon engulf their entire household. The changes in Ofer began subtly, like shadows lengthening at dusk. First came the unexplained fatigue, then persistent headaches that no medicine seemed to cure. Within 3 months of Oi moving in, Ofer's once vibrant health began to deteriorate, mysteriously. "I just feel so weak," Ofer whispered to Adamu one morning, her hand trembling as she tried to lift a glass of water. Concerned, Adamu rushed her to the best hospitals in the country. Doctors ran test after test, their faces growing increasingly puzzled as each result came back inconclusive. During this time, Oi proved herself invaluable. She managed the household with remarkable efficiency, cooking nutritious meals for Ophir, taking care of young Prince, and ensuring everything ran smoothly. "What would we do without you?" Adamu would say gratefully, as Oi served him a cold drink after a long day at the hospital with Ophir. But Ophir continued to waste away. Her once glowing skin turned ashen, and her vibrant smile became a rare sight. The doctor's frustration mounted as every treatment they tried failed. "It's as if her body is fighting against an invisible enemy," one specialist confessed to Adamu. Little Prince, now 5 years old, noticed something strange. One day he innocently asked Oi, "Why did Mommy start getting sick after you came to live with us?" Oi merely dismissed the child's question, but her eyes flickered with something dark and unreadable. As months passed, Ophir grew weaker. She could barely leave her bed, and her once melodious voice became a whisper. Oi was always there, a constant presence, feeding her soups and teas that she claimed would help restore Ophir's strength. After each meal, Ophir seemed to grow more tired, more distant. "Keep fighting, my love," Adamu would plead, holding his wife's increasingly frail hand. But even his wealth and connections couldn't solve the mystery of her illness. The finest medical minds were baffled by her condition. Her slow but steady decline defied all medical explanation. Oi maintained her role as the perfect caregiver, earning admiration from everyone around. "Such a devoted friend," people would say, watching her tirelessly tend to Ophir. Nobody noticed the satisfied glint in her eyes as she watched Ophir grow weaker day by day. The end came quietly one morning. Oui, once full of life and love, slipped away in her sleep. The house filled with the sound of mourning, Adamu's broken sobs, Prince's confused crying, and Oi's perfectly practiced wails of grief. As they lowered Ophir's body into the ground, Oi stood beside Adamu, her face a mask of sorrow. Only she knew the truth behind her friend's mysterious illness. Only she knew about the untraceable poison she had been slowly administering in Ophir's food and drinks over the past months. Her plan had worked perfectly. She had removed the obstacle between herself and what she believed should have been hers all along. The perfect murder had been committed right under everyone's noses, disguised as a tragic illness, orchestrated by the very person they had all trusted to help save Ophir's life. With Ophir's death casting a dark shadow over the household, Oi seamlessly transitioned from trusted friend to indispensable caretaker. "I think it's time for me to leave," she announced 3 weeks after the funeral, her voice carefully measured with practiced grief. But Adamu, still drowning in his sorrow, couldn't bear the thought of another loss. "Please stay," he pleaded. "Prince needs you. I need you." His vulnerability was exactly what Oi had been waiting for. She agreed to remain, playing the role of the selfless friend while orchestrating her next move. As weeks turned into months, Oi's presence became increasingly intimate. She would serve Adamu late-night tea when he couldn't sleep, listen to his memories of Ophir with perfectly timed nods and sympathetic touches. Gradually, grief and loneliness blurred the lines between friendship and something more. One night, Oi knocked on Adamu's bedroom door, claiming nightmares. What began as innocent comfort evolved into a passionate encounter that left Adamu torn with guilt. "This isn't right," he whispered, but Oi knew she had already won. Soon, she moved from the guest room to the master bedroom, taking Ophir's place in more ways than one. The family, though initially hesitant, supported their relationship. "She knows the household, she loves Prince, and she was Ophir's best friend," Mrs. Amina reasoned. Wedding plans began, albeit modest ones out of respect for Ophir's memory. But behind closed doors, Oi's true nature emerged, particularly toward Prince. The boy who reminded her too much of his mother became the target of her cruelty. "Wake up, you worthless child," she would scream when Adamu was away. Gone was the loving aunt, replaced by a monster who starved and berated him. "Auntie, please, I'm hungry," Prince would beg, only to receive 2 slices of bread for an entire day. She forced him to do household chores beyond his age, punishing him with hunger if he failed to meet her impossible standards. The once cheerful child grew thin and withdrawn, but Oi was clever. When Adamu was around, she would serve Prince elaborate meals and show exaggerated affection. "Look how much he's eating," she would exclaim. "The appetite medicine is working wonders." But young Prince wasn't just suffering, he was watching and learning. His father might have been blind to Oi's true nature, but the child saw everything. With wisdom beyond his years, he understood that the woman who was about to become his stepmother was not just cruel, she was dangerous. Little did Oi know that her perfect plan would soon unravel, not through the suspicions of adults, but through the desperate courage of a child who refused to let his mother's memory be tainted by the woman who had destroyed their family. As wedding preparations continued, Prince silently prepared for the moment when he would expose the monster wearing his beloved aunt's face. 2 days before the wedding, Prince called the entire family to the living room. The Amus gathered, curious about what their beloved grandson wanted to share. Mrs. Amina beamed with pride as her young grandson stood before them, his small tablet in hand. Oi watched with mild amusement, never suspecting that this 6-year-old boy would be her undoing. "Uncle Kabiru, could you please connect my tablet to the big TV?" Prince asked innocently. As the screen flickered to life, Oi's smug expression froze. There she was, on the screen, her own face contorted with malice, as she towered over Prince. "Listen attentively," her recorded voice rang through the room, "because after what I'm about to tell you, you will begin to fear me. I was slowly poisoning your mother for months. I moved into this house with a goal, and my goal was never to leave." The room fell silent. Adamu's face drained of color as he watched his fiancée confess to murdering his wife. Mrs. Amina covered her mouth in horror. Before Oi could run, Kabir grabbed her arms, his grip firm and unforgiving. "How?" Adamu whispered, his voice breaking. "How could you?" Prince stepped forward, his young voice steady. "She told me everything when you were away, Dad. I hid my tablet behind the flower vase because I wanted to show you how she treated me, but she told me more than I expected." The police arrived within minutes. As they led Oi away in handcuffs, she maintained her composure until the last moment. Then, facing the family she had almost deceived completely, her mask finally cracked. Her eyes filled with venom, locked onto Prince. But the boy didn't flinch. He stood tall, his mother's courage flowing through his veins. 3 months later, the court reached its verdict. Oi was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death by hanging. Her meticulous plan, years in the making, had been undone by the very child she had tried to break. Adamu never remarried. The betrayal had cut too deep, the loss too profound. Instead, he devoted himself to raising Prince, determined to honor Ophir's memory through their son. Together, they would visit Ophir's grave, laying fresh flowers and sharing stories about the wonderful woman she had been. "Mom would be proud of you," Adamu told Prince one day at the graveside. "You saved us all." Prince touched the cool marble of his mother's headstone. "She saved us first," he replied wisely. "She gave me the strength to stand up to Oi." The story of Ophir, Oi, and Prince became a cautionary tale in their community, a reminder that true friendship should be pure, without jealousy or malice. But it was also a story of justice, of a mother's love reaching beyond the grave through her son, and of truth prevailing against the darkest of deceptions. In the end, Prince grew up, surrounded by his father's love and his mother's memory, carrying forward Ophir's legacy of kindness and courage, while Oi's name became nothing more than a whispered warning about the dangers of obsession and betrayal.